Hello, what is up YouTube? This is Bloodshot9001 bringing you a Borderlands 2 video about my predictions for the next Headhunter DLC. Recently, they had put out the Valentine's DLC, Mad Moxie's Wedding Day Massacre, which is what I am playing right now. Happy Valentine's Day, by the way. I was going to post this video yesterday, but I got caught up with Valentine's Day, so I do apologize in advance for that. But this video really isn't about the DLC itself. I'll go a little bit into the DLC and what I thought of it, but I'll also provide an annotation onto my predictions for the next DLC. So, overall, the Valentine's DLC was about the same as the other Headhunter packs. Personally, I hated the first one, the Halloween one, only because they used skeletons, which seemed very lazy because they had just used skeletons from the Tiny Tina DLC. But at the same time, what else are you going to do for Halloween? So I guess I can kind of excuse it. It just seemed a little half-assed to me, but that was just my opinion, I guess. So, overall, fun DLC. There were a few Easter eggs. I won't really spoil them for you. You can look them up. I already did the Thresher one and the Leprechaun one. I know there's more, but those are the only two I've really done. Good job to Gearbox for doing it. I guess it's worth the money. I would have preferred to have gotten it like on sale. I know that they always have the Headhunters on sale when they make a new one, so I imagine this one and the rest are going to be on sale once the 5th one comes out, but if not, it'll be on sale eventually. So I would suggest you guys get it on sale for like half price, because they're like a full story length mission, so it's $1.50 for buying that and some fun skins and heads, but $3 seems $1 expensive to me. Like, that's about it. So that's my very lackluster review of the DLC, but that's not what this video is about. So recently, after they put out the Valentine's Day DLC, they also put out a release or a confirmation on what the 5th and last Headhunter DLC will be, and apparently it'll also be the last DLC for Borderlands 2 at all. So let me get into what the Headhunter DLC is supposed to be first. And I say supposed to be because I have a theory about it, but for now I'll say what it is. The DLC is labeled Sir Hammerlock versus the Son of Cromarax. And if you don't know, Cromarax was the last, only raid boss for Borderlands 1 in the last DLC, the Armory of General Knox. And it was a fun raid boss, very hard, and then they obviously had more raid bosses in this one, and apparently they decided, oh, let's bring back a raid boss that everyone knew, Cromarax, but they couldn't just bring back Cromarax, so they made him have a son, and that's what the DLC will be based around. So the gameplay they showed you on an island, and they kind of reuse the pirates and stuff, but they also bring back some enemies. So at first I was kind of peeved that they reused more textures and more enemies, just like they did with the skeletons, but they also added more, so kind of balanced itself out in my opinion. Actually brought a little bit more because I like seeing new enemies. So overall, they said that the DLC, they didn't say it was even holiday themed like all the rest of them have been, but they said it had more of an Easter color palette where it was brighter, and most of the others weren't really that bright. They were all kind of dark and muddy colors, and I do like the brighter colors. And they also had literal Easter eggs lying around the map, but I don't think it's an Easter DLC. I think they have Easter things in the DLC, but I have my suspicions about the DLC, for good reasons too. So, most of the DLCs, the Halloween DLC, the Thanksgiving DLC, the Christmas DLC, and this Valentine's DLC, they all came out, obviously, on, like, a little before, like 2-3 days before their holidays hit. Before they were released, maybe a week to 10 days prior, they had, at least Kotaku I know, had sat down with one of the devs at Gearbox and they were playing the DLC and showing it off and talking about it a little bit. And this was 10 days prior to the release date, which is a nice little teaser for it, but it wasn't really that much. Like, you didn't really know it was coming out until a little bit before, so you had time to get ready for it, but it wasn't really like a big, long wait release date kind of thing. And it is for every single one, except for the last DLC, the 5th one. For some reason, they decided right after the Miss Moxie Valentine's Day DLC that they would release a video and announce the 5th and last DLC for Borderlands 2 months in advance. The release date is set for April 15th, and right now it is February 15th. And for some reason, they decided, oh, let's just announce it 2 months in advance. I think that's weird, that this is the only one they announced early. And normally that, like, I saw that and I was suspicious. And that was it. Until I realized the first holiday in April is April Fool's Day. Even if the release date is the 15th, that doesn't change the fact that they have a month and a half until April Fool's Day where they could easily change something or say something about this DLC. Or they might just be letting people look at the DLC early, and they're gonna build up the hype of this is the last DLC and this is the last this is the big lead up with the raid boss and everything, just to fool us in some joke. Because most people, I included, thought that the last DLC they made was going to be assaulting the moon base. That is obviously, like, I'll say a staple of Borderlands 2, or was mentioned to be a staple. It wasn't really a staple because you never really went to it, but you always saw it, it always did stuff, and it was always mentioned in some way. So people thought, especially after the Tiny Tina DLC, where you get a code to get to the moon base, people thought, oh, there will be a DLC about going to the moon base. I thought the main story was going to have it before the game even came out, so I was shocked that they didn't have anything, and then I was happy because I thought maybe that would be the DLC, that you go in space, and they could have all sorts of space jokes and space Easter eggs and stuff, or sci-fi themed things, I guess, I don't know. But they didn't, ever. And apparently this new Cromax Jr. thing is going to be the last DLC of Borderlands 2? I really don't think so. Especially considering it's near April Fool's Day, and they decided let's release it 2 months in advance so people can get hyped for this new raid boss. But also because fans can get upset that this is the last DLC and they're going to be sad about that, most likely. I know I'm kind of sad about that if it's true, but I don't think it's true. You guys can call me out on it in the future if it's wrong. I don't care. But I'm making a prediction right now that Gearbox is setting up this 5th DLC for the Headhunter packs to be an April Fool's joke. Because they released stuff early for it, or announced stuff early for it, and it's coming out after April Fool's, but, I mean, it's Gearbox. They like jokes, I guess, so they could easily just made up something and said, oh yeah, it's coming out. And the other thing is, it's not a holiday thing. They didn't say it was a holiday DLC, so it's not improbable that this is an April Fool's joke and that they're just not saying it's an April Fool's DLC, because like an actual April Fool's joke, you're not going to admit it until the very end. So that's my theory and prediction on the next DLC. We'll probably see what actually happens near either April Fool's Day or the actual release date that they set. But we won't really know until it actually happens. So hopefully it isn't the last DLC, but if it is, it's been a hell of a ride for Borderlands 2. I always love it, and I probably will play it until they make a next one, if they make a next one. But we'll have to see what happens. That is it for me, guys. This has been Bloodshot 9001. And I'll see you next time.
Well, I couldn't have messed that up worse. The bride and groom are dead, the clans are still at war, and I kinda shot our whole let's start acting like good guys plan in the foot. Told you the recipe called for something blue.